verse is taken from this morning, a few verses actually. 2 Samuel chapter 3, verse 18. Now then do it, for the Lord has spoken of David, saying, by the hand of my servant David, I will save my people Israel from the hand of the Philistines and the hand of all their enemies. Now moving over to the same chapter, the same book, 2 Samuel chapter 11, verses 2, 15, 26 to 27. Then it happened one evening that David arose from his bed and walked on the roof of the king's house. And from the roof he saw a woman bathing. And the woman was very beautiful to behold. Verse 11. Verse 15 rather. And he wrote in the letter saying, set Uriah in the forefront of the hottest battle, and retreat from him, that he may be struck down and die. Verse 26 to 27. When the wife of Uriah heard that Uriah her husband was dead, she mourned for her husband. And when her mourning was over, David sent and brought her to his house, and she became his wife and bore him a son. But the thing that David had done displeased the Lord. Our youth for this year, our topic is, in spite of my failures, I'm still called. This is something that I know much about, and David even more so. To be called, when we think of the word called, we think of being summoned. To get someone's attention, to demand someone's presence. To fail means it's an inability to perform what is expected, or choosing not to perform. So either you're unable to perform, or you choose not to perform a particular way. The Merriam-Webster dictionary describes power failure as fracturing or giving away under stress. Crumbling under stress, basically. And when we think of simple, everyday scenarios, if I say to Sister Pat, she responded to me because I called her in a way that demanded her attention. If I keep on, I say, Sister Pat. I've actually demanded your attention to come to me. What the response is a twofold thing. You could answer, but I have something for you. But if you keep answering and not coming to me, you're not going to get what it is. Amen. So you're called. You respond, not just by answering, because we can continue to answer and not receive what the other person has for us. When Sister Pat comes to me now, when Sister Pat comes to me and I give her this $1 million, she has the purpose for my calling her has been revealed. And it has been fulfilled because she has received her $1 million. So you are called, you respond not just by answering, but by walking towards me, opening your hand and receive. That is when your purpose is revealed. And that is when you've been chosen. Amen. It is good to be called. We're all called. Every one of us sitting here today are called. But if we do not walk towards who is calling us, we will not receive what it is for us to receive. Amen. King David, before he even did all the things that he did, he was referred to as a man after God's own heart. Yeah. We have to look at David's character. Why was David referred to as a man after God's own heart? His humility. When we first learn of David, we're not introduced to David as, the great shepherd boy who wrestled the lion and retrieved the sheep from the lion's mouth. That's not how David is introduced. David is introduced as almost disregarded. Because when Samuel came to choose a king, Saul wasn't being a good king. He was disobedient to God. Samuel came to choose a king from Jesse's sons. That's David's father. And all the 7 sons that were there, Samuel the prophet, he overlooked them and he said, okay, they look strong, they might have the stature, but that is not what God wanted. Because God looks at our hearts. Yeah. We esteem man based on what we see around us. We esteem man based on, oh, that person looks fit to be king. I heard something in Bermuda politics just recently about somebody giving some money to somebody because he looked the part. I'm not sure if anyone heard of that. But he gave him the money because he looked the part of whatever it is, some leader or whatever, but he basically he said he gave him the money because he looked the part. And that's what we do, that's what we think, that's how men think all the time. But God looks at your heart. Amen. There David was in the field, tending to the sheep. Right. And when Samuel saw the sons, he said, these are not, it's not going to be of these, not these able-bodied ones, not these built ones, no, not them. And he asked Jesse, do you have another? You have another son? He's like disregarding David. Oh no, it's just the youngest boy. He's out there tending to the sheep and everything. So David was basically disregarded. But what we disregard is what God exalts. Because God is who does the exalting and not us. Amen. So he went out and he chose David. And God chose David because he was a man after his own heart. He was called even before he was anointed. Even before the oil was put upon him, he was called. Why do I say David was called? Because if you look at the faith that David had, how is it that, for me, if I was a shepherd and I see a lion taking one of the sheep, I am going to protect the others that are there and try to run for my life. But the God that David believed in, he said, I am going to take, there was no second thought. There was no second thought. Can I do this? He went and he wrestled the lion and he retrieved the sheep from the lion's mouth. So just to paint a picture of who David was and why God says he's a man after his own heart. And remember that all these things were said about David before he did all the actions that he did. Yeah. And we must remember that God knows what's happening today. He knows what's going to happen tomorrow. Right. He knows what's going to happen in the future. So before he referred to David as a man after his own heart, he knew that David was going to mess up. All right. But that's not, I'm just saying to you, don't be stuck on your mess. Don't be stuck on the fact that you're messed up. David served the God of his fathers. All right, then the power came. David became king. David had all the wives he wanted. He had all the wives on the side, all the sweethearts, everything. He had all he wanted. But then he saw Bathsheba. And I asked my father last night, I said, why was Bathsheba made outside? Where was Bathsheba while she was outside so that David could see her? But anyway, the point of it is, when David saw this, being the human that he is, the lust of the flesh took over. And he saw it and he said, I must have this. I, King David, must have this. And he slept with Bathsheba, got her pregnant. Now, it's one thing, when we start doing things, we keep doing more and more things to cover them up, to get rid of our sins, to cover our sins. We keep continue lying, we keep stealing, you keep being deceitful. So what David did when he realized that Bathsheba was pregnant, he called Uriah in. He said, I need to send Uriah into Bathsheba so he can think he's the one that made her pregnant. Because I can't have this on my head. So that didn't work. Because being the faithful soldier that Uriah was, based on their tradition and principles back then, if a man took a break from war or came home from war, they would not go in and sleep with their wives until the war is over, they've given thanks to God and everything. So they became, so that plot failed. So what you do after that, you have to make another plot. And he went as far as to get Uriah killed. And poor Uriah was the one who delivered his own death sentence. He was the one that was offered the letter to bring to the army sergeant or whoever you call it back then, to put Uriah in the hottest part of the battle so that he could be killed. And that is when we need to be careful of the things that we do. And that is why God has presented the throne of grace before us, so that when we sin, we don't have to go through a priest. We don't have to go through anybody. You don't have to confess to anybody. You come to God and confess your sin yourself. Because one thing leads to another, Because when we hear of the great King David initially, we would have thought that the great King David would have never done anything like this. But human nature, the human in us causes us to do things that we don't want to do sometimes.
Amen.
So, but I just want to point out that there are a few other people in the Bible that had failures. Some of them, failure might have been involuntary. A failure or a shortcoming might have been voluntary, and some might have been involuntary. And we look at, throughout the whole Bible, we look at Abraham and Sarah. What was their shortcoming? They were both old. They were not within reproductive age. So they could not, they thought they could not reproduce. So when they were called to bring forth the child and become the father of, Abraham could become the father of many nations, they doubted. Sarah doubted. But when they yielded themselves, submitted to God, and responded to his word, that is when the conception took place. Moses' failure was that he was slow of speech. He was not eloquent enough. And God says, okay, all you need to do is respond, answer to the call, and I will place somebody to be your spokesperson. Aaron was given as the spokesperson. Rahab. And it is so beautiful. I love the God that I serve. He does not hide anything from us. He exposes everything. When we see the people that are in the Bible, we're like, if we were writing the book, some of those people wouldn't make it in there. When we look at Rahab was a harlot. Rahab was not even an Israelite. And if we know a little history about the Israelites, we know that they're not supposed to intermarry or interbreed with anybody that's not an Israelite. And because of Rahab's response to the call that she received, she helped the Israelites to escape, and in so doing, she earned herself a place in the genealogy of Jesus. She was a harlot, a prostitute, a whore, and she earned herself a place because she responded to the people of God. So sometimes God sends people, sometimes God speaks to us directly. But we have to respond to God, have a discerning spirit so that we're able to respond to his people as well. Amen. Ruth also was not an Israelite. And Ruth was the great grandma of David. She also earned herself a place in the lineage of Jesus. She was not supposed to be there. But what did Ruth do? She gave up her God for the God of Israel. She had to let go of everything that she knew as hers and come into what is God's. And that is how she earned herself a place. Hannah, I love the story of Hannah. Hannah was barren. But little did Hannah know that what was going to come from her womb was called even before conception. Samuel was called from he was a child. And when he heard the voice saying, Samuel, Samuel, come here, he went to Eli thinking that Eli was the one that had called him. Eli said, no, go back, and you hear that voice again, say, speak, Lord, my servant heareth. That is what we need to do. We need to say, speak, Lord, my servant heareth. We come further down into the Bible, we see Mary Magdalene. There was a lot of prostitutes. You see, Mary Magdalene, she was another prostitute. But when Jesus called her, she dropped it all. She left it all behind, and she made her bed at his feet. She made her bed at his feet, so wherever he went, she went. And she received the honor of being the first to see Jesus when he rose. The first person to see Jesus when he rose. We think of the disciples. The disciples were unlearned, basically. Most of them were unlearned. They were fishermen. They had no formal education. But these are the ones that Jesus chose. And even from that 12, the 3 that he chose, if it was in today's society, we would be thinking, okay, we need to choose the 3 most well-learned ones. They were 3 fishermen. Those were in the inner circle of the inner circle. He chose 3 fishermen. They were unlearned. This person, I think, had the greatest failure of all, Lazarus. He was dead. I don't think there can be a greater failure than that. He was dead. But there was a call.
All right.
And he said, Lazarus, come forth.
And he was dead.
And he responded to the call. I don't know whether he said, yes, Lord, I'm coming out or not. But he responded by moving forward, moving towards the voice of Jesus.
Come on.
When he moved towards the voice of Jesus, we were then able to see that he is no longer dead. That is the manifestation of him being no longer dead.
Yes. All right,
so
now.
he moved towards the voice of God.
Come on.
So this list of people that I gave you is just to show you that God, your calling is not limited to age.
Yes.
David was a boy.
Yes.
Samuel was a boy.
Yes.
It's not limited to status.
Oh, come on.
We often think that we need to be well learned or we need to know every verse in the Bible. No. He chose those for a reason.
Yes.
For the benefit of us today, so that we can see that no matter your situation, God is calling you. But to be chosen, you have to make that step. You have to say yes, Lord, and you have to walk forward. And say, yes, Lord, speak, your servant heareth. This message Pastor preached some time ago just rung true to me. It says, let go of your past truth. And then Brother Charlie preached a message shortly after. I don't remember how the order went. But it says, don't let your condition determine your position.
All right.
It is a lie. What happened in your past is a lie. I know that because I've been through so many things. I've been through so many things. You wouldn't even believe the things that I've been through. Let me just share a small snippet of my life. When I grew up in church, and apparently church was just too much for me now. I just went to church. If it was missionary meeting, I was going. If it was the elderly meeting, I was going. Every meeting in church, I was going. And because of the flesh, when I went to university, I rebelled. It was on now when I went to university. And the people that have never, my friends that are around me, that have never been to church before, they partied less than I did. They partied less than I did. Yeah, I'm telling you this because where God has taken me from and where I'm going, I don't care what people think. I don't care what people think about me. Because guess what? I don't live here. This world is not my home. I'm just passing through. So whatever. It doesn't matter what you think. But I've been through some stuff, and somebody needs to know that people who are here have been through some stuff. I've been through some stuff. I'm telling you, when I was so bound up in a situation, in a relationship where I was trying to go back to church and I just could not get out of it. I ended up doing things, you name it, just name it in your mind, and I've done it. Just name it in your mind, and I've done it. But when I tell you that, when God calls you, it's not from yesterday or just today. Because God has had his hand in my life forever. I didn't realize that at the time when I was having my fun. But when God has his hands in your life, he has his hands in your life. I remember as a child, I just told my mother this the other day, and she was like, as a child, I loved God so much. I had so much faith. I wanted to be an angel. I was about 5. And there's a wall at my house. There's on my veranda, there's this high wall. And one night I was just worshiping God outside and I was crying and I was praying. I said, God, I want to be with you. I want to be an angel. And, you know, I had so much faith. I knew I was going to be an angel. I knew if I jumped off of that wall, I would fly. And I jumped off the wall. Thanks be to God, I'm here today. I said, heaven had a good laugh at my expense. But just looking at that, I'm just remembering these things. A friend of mine that's in Russia now, she messaged me on Facebook the other day. And she said, you remember when we were because I went to a high school, Alger boarding school. I lived there for 5 years. She said, you remember one night, we have this group where it's called Inter-School Christian Fellowship, where we just meet every Friday, and for those of the children on campus who are Christians, we meet and all of that stuff. So I still remain faithful to go into that. And I don't know what happened. I love walls. I climbed up on a wall and I started preaching. And when I stopped, everybody was crying. Oh my God, what did I do? Everybody was crying. And she just reminded me of this the other day. And I'm like, all those spur of the moment things. But guess what? God had a call for me.
All right.
And whether it's to preach the gospel formally on a platform or not, I am still a minister. Because the life that I live out there is what is ministering to people. The life that you live outside of a pulpit is your ministry. But before even ministry, remember that Jesus said, no one can come to me unless I call him. Amen. So you're not called to ministry, you're called to God first. Amen. Sometimes we get so caught up, God, I want to do this, I want to do that, I'm this and I'm that. You're not called to your position or your title. You're called to God first. Amen. We need to keep that in mind. There was a preacher I was listening to the other day that was expressing that a couple had come to him for counseling. And the man was so jealous of the baby because he said the baby's getting all this attention. Before, I used to be the one getting this attention. But he said God revealed to him that this is how my people are. They are so concerned with the ministry that I have given them that they've forgotten about me. We need to get back to the roots of it, get back to Jesus. We need to get back to God. Yes. Because it's not about ministry. That your calling is not about ministry. When you're called to Jesus. A ministry didn't call you. You're called to Jesus. Amen. And He the one who gives you the fruit, gives you the ministry, is the one that you spend your time with. Amen. Whatever's happening in that ministry will happen. Yes. And back to my testimony. I realized that just looking at it in retrospect, I said, God, you've been calling me all this time. Because my friend, she said, I never forgot that. You made such a mark on my life. I never forgot that. That is how many, I went to high school in 98. And I'm like, that is how many years ago. She said she never forgot it. When you make a mark on people's lives, on Jesus' behalf. All right. That's a seed planted. Amen. You might worry about, okay, God, but I've invited this person so many times and they still haven't showed up. He says some do the planting, some do the watering, but stop worrying about it because only God can give the increase. God is the only one that can save a soul. You can't change somebody. So stop worrying about it. It's not your burden to carry. Keep interceding on their behalf. Keep living a life that ministers to them. So whether you go to them and preach or not, they will still see a life that ministers to them. Amen. We have to be careful of the messages that we send to people. People see us all around. There are so many times some people have come to me and say, hey, you didn't see me. I'm like, you didn't see the person, but they saw you. So whatever you're doing, be careful of what you're doing. Because God sees, people see you. And if you don't make the mistake of blocking somebody from God. Jesus. Don't block somebody from God. We are imperfect. And we all sin and fallen short of God's glory. But do not continue to live a life of sin. Because when somebody sees you, who say, wasn't she just inviting me to church last week? Me? I'm not going there. I'm not going there with those hypocrites. People already have that impression. And you're going to confirm it? We are not perfect, but do not walk in your sin. It's a past truth. It is the past, to let go of it. And that is why when I just met my husband, he said something to me that it just opened me up in a way that I've never been opened before. He said, because we would discuss things about our past and stuff like that. I couldn't speak of it because this relationship that I came out of, the stuff that I did before I went into that relationship, he held it against me. I wasn't an angel and I did some stuff. And he held it against, oh, I'm going to tell your mom and your dad. And the way I was brought up, I have so much respect for my parents that I know that it would break their heart if they knew certain things about their little baby girl. And so I held on, I stayed there, I stayed under the bondage. And I decided that, I said that I can't get out of this because if I get out, my parents are going to know all that I've done. But what my husband said to me, because I was so embarrassed about talking about the stuff that I've been through, he said, the day that you met me is the last day of your past. He said, the day that you met me was the last day of your past. And it's the same message that God is sending to us.
Amen. Amen.
The day you come in contact with me is the last day of your past. Let it go. Let it go. Let go of that thing that is holding you back.
All right.
That is not you anymore. He says, speak those things that are not yet as though they already are. I am alive in Christ. I am no longer in bondage because of those things that I've done. Those things that I've done don't define me. I am a child of the King. I am a child of God. I will never go back. I will never go back. I will never go back. Sweet as Jesus, I can tell you that. I've been inside don't worry about coming out of it first, then coming to Jesus. He says, no, come to me now. I will fix it. I will get you out of whatever you don't need to be in. I have such a passion for young people who I see just passing by the way. I have such a passion for the youth that I feel. Like, God, show them what you showed me. Show them what you showed me, Jesus. Because the day when I decided that, God, I'm giving it all to you. The song that the young men were saying was the same song that I sang. I said, Jesus. I was in a sticky situation. And that was even worse than all the other things that I was being condemned for. That position was the worst I've ever been in. And I decided that if it came to pass, I was never going back to Jamaica. I was moving from Bermuda, and my parents and my family would never hear from me again. It was that bad. It was that bad. And I said, God, take me out of this last thing, and I am yours. And my God, I tell you, I don't know what happened, but that situation never came to fruition. And I said, Jesus, I'm yours. And that song, I sang it to God. I say, I give myself away. I give myself, my entire being to you so you can use me.